Hello and welcome to The Hash. I am Zack Seward. It is a good day today. I am joined by Jen Sanasie, Ben Powers, Will Foxley, and Naomi Brockwell, who's going to start us off today with an update on that big, huge DeFi hack from yesterday. Naomi, what do you got?
Giant DeFi hack. So Poly Network suffered a major hack. We talked about this on the show yesterday. A total of $610 million in US dollars in cryptocurrencies were being stolen. This is the biggest DeFi hack that has ever happened in the history of crypto. And most of the funds were stolen from Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain and USDC tokens. Now, we've been watching what's been going on with this. A lot of people have been analyzing the data, trying to track down who this person is. We saw an outpouring of people asking the hacker to send them money, basically, begging for some of the funds to be airdropped to them because they have troubles or they live in a bad country or they have a mortgage. Lots and lots of messages there. And then Wednesday, today, they actually started returning funds. So the hacker's Polygon address sent a test amount to an address and then sent another $1 million 15 minutes later. Got $1.1 million in BTCB on Binance Smart Chain was returned. So there's been a bunch of money that's been pouring back. So now people are wondering whether this was a white hat hacker who was actually testing the system in order to find vulnerabilities and make it more robust. There's a lot to unpack here, and we're still trying to get to the bottom of this. Will, I'm going to throw this straight to you for your thoughts on all of this. Are we dealing with a white hat here?
I have no idea. This is just getting more interesting as time goes on. So we saw that a lot of different tokens were returned. So Faye, which is like a stable coin, and Shiba Inu even popped up here in the story. I don't understand what is going on because there's been so much misinformation around this as well. Like you said, people are asking for money from the hacker. Some people are claiming to be the hacker and posting that information on social media, saying that the hacker is trying to return the funds. Some people are saying that he's trying to launch his own exchange and hard fork the network that he attacked and using the funds that he stole to kind of set up that new network. So there's a ton of misinformation out there, which is just kind of like adding to the interesting aspects of the story. But yeah, to the top of the point here, this is probably the largest hack in cryptocurrency writ large itself, $600 million, not just DeFi. So that is head turning. And as I noted yesterday, that comes amidst a lot of regulatory ire against cryptocurrency itself. $600 million is not something to cough at. It's a lot different than the hacks we saw last summer, which already pissed off a lot of people in the regulatory world, let alone just the cryptocurrency world itself. So I'm interested to see if this Poly Network hack turns into something like another political prong for regulators. In terms of what's going to happen for Poly Network, I don't know. This is just extremely confusing. Some of the money is being returned, some's not. There's been like some negotiations on chain. I've even seen some really, really interesting parts where the hacker is sending encrypted messages that only some people know how to decrypt. And there's people who have no relationship to this hacker are decrypting them and just broadcasting them across Twitter. So this is like the hacker is still stuck in the bank vault with all his loot. And everyone is like trying to like tap on the glass or tap on the steel walls, trying to tell him what to do. And I don't know what he's going to end up doing, but really interesting story here. Zack, I want to throw it to you, or maybe Jen, you have a thought.
Let Zack go first, and then I'll jump in.
I was going to say, isn't that like a plot of like a Bruce Willis movie, like where they get like locked in the vault and then they like miraculously escape? So anyway, this could be a Hollywood treatment one day. It could be every Bruce Willis movie. So we'll have to get Bruce Willis out here for the Poly Network hack story. I think these moments in crypto are very, very interesting because they just raise so many interesting questions about decentralization and the pros and cons of decentralized systems, right? I think one of the more interesting things that we saw, Poly Network is out there asking for miners and stablecoin issuers to blacklist certain assets. Tether followed suit and ended up blacklisting some of these USDT that were involved in this attack. Meanwhile, CZ, the CEO of Binance, is on Twitter saying, hey, them's the breaks. This is decentralization and there are risks. Unpopular opinion alert. There are risks to this world, and these are one of those risks. So it's going to be interesting to see if Circle, which is the issuer of USDC, steps in and blacklists some of these coins, or if they too say that the virtues of decentralization would dictate that they do not do that. So really interesting moment to see how some of the participants in the industry respond to these nefarious misdeeds by a hacker or hackers. But yeah, I'm with Will. There's just a lot here. And again, some of those messages from our crypto panhandlers that were identified by our colleague Brad, I thought were really, really telling, right? Some people are sort of casting this hacker as a modern day Robin Hood, and they're asking with their hands out for a little bounty from this crypto crime. So I don't know, lots going on, but Jen, it's over to you.
Well, I just wanted one of you to talk me through the culture of white hat hacking in crypto. Why not just say there are vulnerabilities in this code and let's work on fixing it? Why this big event? Why do we need to freak people out, raise the red flag to regulators, and cause this big hoopla?
Ben,
this isn't a white hat hacker. Let's be real. I think that was a term we tossed out at first. I think this is much more akin to maybe what we saw with Thorchain and the hack that went down there, where they kind of termed it as like a gray hat, right? They're existing in between this space of black hat and white hat hacking. And, with the Thorchain hack, at least, the hacker said, I could have taken way more than this, like fix your buggy code. And here, I think maybe we're seeing like, this hacker took the way more, although this is like, obviously a separate network. And returning a few million of that is not really battle testing or hardening, these systems themselves. Also, like to my end, and based on the reporting that we've seen, there's not been any recommendation of like how to fix this. There's a lot of speculation about how this occurred, whether it was a private key leakage or whether it was like the cross-chain functionality that caused this. But this isn't a case of, here's the issues, let's work on patching them. This is a case of like, here's some spare change from the 600 million I just jacked from you.
Jen, to answer your question there, I think it kind of exists on a spectrum. So we see in DeFi, there's this ethos of test and production. And in that case, I think it is ethical to a degree to white hat hack and take all the funds from a project that is broken in a sense, and then be able to give it back later. In traditional hacking, like you also see that where there's black hats and white hats, and black hats don't return funds ever, white hats do, or white hats will show you what's up. Because if you just tell them whatever, say like, here's something broken in your code, well, what if a team member at that group decides to hack you with that information that they know about? What if the team itself decides to hack you? What if that message is intercepted? Typically, if you kind of figure out, oh, there's something broken with this code and there's a lot of money on the line, the ethical thing is to hack them, even if it's bad for their name brand. If there wasn't something to be broken, or if there wasn't something broken in the first place, then they wouldn't have to like suffer that embarrassment. But I think just where DeFi is at right now, that's often the more ethical thing to do, is just to like take the money and then give it back later with a fee.
All right.
All right. Well, let's change gears.
Here.
I'll take it. Let's do this thing. Ooh, you got me. I can't talk anymore. Sorry, guys. Okay, we're changing track. Yesterday, it was Coinbase earnings day, and there was all sorts of little hidden gems in the Coinbase shareholder letter. And one of those gems was a previously undisclosed partnership with the bank, PNC Bank, which is the 5th largest bank in the U.S. This was a little bit of confirmation from some reporting that my colleague Danny Nelson had done. And based on these two ingredients, Coinbase shareholder letter and behind the scenes reporting, we were able to report that PNC Bank is planning a crypto offering by way of Coinbase that would give access, would give some of its customers access to cryptocurrency. So this is an interesting little revelation. Some other folks are mentioned in the shareholder letter, but this is again one of the benefits for reporters like us of public reporting requirements for companies that are listed on public stock exchanges. So we got this little nugget. PNC is the latest bank to experiment with this stuff with Coinbase, which is a notable tie-up. I'm going to throw this straight to Ben. Ben, bank gets into crypto. What's our take at this point? What's our take in this cycle at this point?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that's what I'm saying, like, why me? Like, because my take on this is like another bank doing another thing in crypto. We're at like the 5th largest bank here. Like, we've kind of like slowly de-escalated from who are the really big players getting involved. And certainly this is significant. It's also speaks to a little bit about how Coinbase is going to be working with banks, maybe going forward. And I think that could maybe be where the breadcrumbs lead a little bit more interesting. But this is, it's kind of crazy to think that over the course of like, since January of maybe this year, we've like been completely shocked and been like, oh my God, like look at this huge institutional player getting in. And now a little bit from my end, it's kind of like yawn, like who's next? And I think it speaks to like the concrete nature of how this industry is moving and developing, and speaks to like the rise in popularity of crypto offerings, that this is not sort of like maybe the blaring news I would have considered it even like 5 months ago. So that's kind of where I come into this one and why I think about it. But it is important just as another data point as we see the ecosystem continue to expand and people weigh in.
Yeah, and some of those other big players that were mentioned in this shareholder letter included Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, confirming some previous reporting by the block that they were involved in, that Coinbase was involved in getting those firms their vast troves of Bitcoin. I'm going to toss this up to you, Jen. What do you got?
Yeah, we talk so much about trust on this show. We've talked about how FTX is building that trust with their brand sponsorships and their sport partnerships. And I feel like Coinbase is doing the same with institutional players. They're building up this trust. We're hearing stories like this, and they're creating this kind of secure blanket for institutional players, but also for their retail investors. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, gone are the days when Coinbase can be considered just a retail exchange. You know, institutional investment is a big part of their business at present. And you know, those earnings yesterday showed that their numbers were up pretty strongly. They had whopping revenue numbers, and you know, their stock price is up this morning because of it. The day after earnings were reported after yesterday's close. I'm going to toss this to you, Naomi. I mean, Coinbase keeps being Coinbase. They still sort of capture a lot of attention in this market. They're the largest U.S. exchange, and they seem to be weathering current downturns quite nicely in the market. What's your take on where Coinbase sits right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely doing a great job in attracting all of these institutional players. When people are getting involved, they seem to be going to Coinbase out of all of the possibilities out there. And it's just interesting when you had that letter from PNC that talks about all of their relationships. And it seems like, you know, Coinbase is really like a linchpin of all of that, who's also serving the Teslas. And, you know, and so it's quite remarkable to see how far we've come, just to take a step back and look at crypto like 10 years ago, and you had a bunch of ragtag people saying, hey guys, this is a real thing. This could really mean freedom of money. And now, as you said, you know, Ben, like it's exhausting every week now. You just have another institutional player saying, like, this is a staple. We're offering it. We're, you know, setting up partnerships. We're putting it on our balance sheet. We're offering it to our institutional investors. You know, it's just ongoing, and it really does show this coming of age of Bitcoin and how it really has matured into something that people are considering as part of their regular diversification in their portfolio as a different asset class. It's like, it's a staple now. It's here to stay. And I also think that what happened in the Senate with all of the regulation and the pushback from the community also shows this. Like, Bitcoin has really come of age, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here. But let's take a break. And what's coming up after the break, Zach?
We're going to talk about soccer, football to most people. Lionel Messi, he's doing an NFT, and he just changed teams, and he's in Paris now. So he's doing an NFT, and we're going to talk about it. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Just stick with us. Hang tight. We'll be right back. We'll talk about that and more on The Hash. Happy Wednesday. Talk to you soon.
CoinDesk indexes, the market standard for crypto assets since 2014. Our trusted data powers billions in publicly traded funds. CoinDesk indexes are the standard used by institutions, and they're the key for investors looking to understand and access crypto markets.
CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, XBX, has been instrumental to Grayscale, enabling investors around the world to access Bitcoin through a regulated, familiar product.
CoinDesk indexes enabled the early adopters to build crypto investment vehicles, and they're already trusted by a new generation of global investors.
Welcome back to The Hash. It's Wednesday, and we are bringing you the latest and greatest in crypto and culture. So some news on the regulation front. SEC Chairman Gary Gensler has said that Congress should give the SEC additional oversight and enforcement abilities to monitor transactions, products, and platforms in the U.S. crypto sector. In a letter to Senator Elizabeth Warren, he said it's his view that legislative priority should center on crypto trading, lending, and DeFi platforms. So I wanted to read just this excerpt from the letter. He said, certain rules related to crypto assets are well settled. The test to determine whether a crypto asset is a security is clear. And the SEC has taken and will continue to take our authorities as far as they go. So Naomi, I want to kick this right off to you. Gensler says that it's very clear what a security is and what a security is not, and he would like the SEC to have further authority over what's going on in crypto. What do you take away from this?
It's very clear, which is why no one can actually tell you what's a security and what's not. And that's why, when you have all of these rulings come out of the SEC and they have all these settlements, like they don't even clarify. Like when they're going after the exchanges these days, they say, well, we're going after you because you're offering securities. You'll notice that they don't actually define which ones they consider the security and which ones they don't. And yet it's somehow so very clear to everyone in the industry. I mean, he talks about protection. He uses that as the nice little happy red bow he ties around this. Oh, well, we need oversight. We need more control. We need to know exactly what's going on with all this to protect people. And it's very clear that this is not what this is about. This is about a runaway financial system that they're no longer in control of. And of course, he needs more authority to regulate it because crypto as it stands can't be regulated. Now, if the US government decided to put a ton more resources into this, a huge amount of money to crack down on these people who dare use money that isn't controlled by the government, they're going to need a lot more resources because this is a completely decentralized system. This is a very difficult system to control. So yes, I understand why he feels backed into a corner, like this is running away from him, because it is. And that is the state of play at the moment. We have a system where it's an alternative to the government system. It's not controlled by the government system. And people are using this alternative and the government is getting pretty worried about that. But Zack, I saw your hand go up, so I'll throw to you.
I just wanted to chime in on the clarity point. I mean, you see sort of the purse Roisman wing of the SEC saying when these enforcement actions come out that, hey, we've failed to clarify. Here's yet another example of us failing to delineate what is what when we make these enforcement actions. So the idea that this is clear, crystal clear as day, is just a little laughable when even SEC commissioners recently have taken to pointing out the fact that this is not clear, and the SEC is not doing, in their opinion, a good enough job at distinguishing between various assets. I'll toss it to Ben because I saw his hand up, but I definitely want to get Will in here too.
Yeah, for sure. I think this could also be, when we talk about that lack of clarity, is there also a lack of clarity about like what agencies are tackling what when it comes to crypto, given the wide array of services and things like that, right? There's like bits between the FTC, the CFTC, like the SEC. And I feel like this, Naomi, maybe to your point too, this is like a way for the SEC to try to exert more control and say like, no, we are the big dogs here and should be largely the ones looking at crypto, not kind of split across various departments. That creates confusion, that creates a lack of continuity, and further adds to some of the like gray areas that seemingly have plagued the, industry for years now.
Yeah, quick thought for the panel. I know when Gary Gensler was being tapped by Biden early last year, there was like a lot of enthusiasm around him being put in that position as Jay Clayton kind of finished out his tenure in office. But it seems like there's a lot of continuity in the leadership position there, where they're not giving a lot of guidance on what is a security and what is not a security, and they're just kind of saying, we know what a security is, and then haphazardly handing out litigation against certain projects when they feel the need to. And Hester Peirce the other day wrote a really brutal takedown of a SEC opinion or SEC case against a crypto project that decided that they were a security and they forced them to pay a fine. And Hester Peirce was like, no, this is really unclear, and you're kind of hurting innovation here. So I'm curious, maybe Zack, you have some thoughts, or Naomi, you have some thoughts on like why there was enthusiasm around Gary Gensler coming into that position, and then now it just seems to be the same old kind of story we've seen forever in that chair.
I think that we, as a human nature, we really want like a leader that we can trust and we can put our faith in, and we forget that these people come to power, and generally it's the worst that get on top. I'm going to say it. Gary Gensler, it's Catherine Wu, I think, put it best where she said that he knows just enough to be dangerous. You have these people who basically want to control a system, and they rise to the top of this political game, which is a terrible game if you actually dig into how this political financial machinations work. And these people rise to the top of that. And we think that they're going to do things in our best interest. I mean, it's laughable that we still think this when time and time again, they just prove that it's most often in their own self-interest. It's most often to give, favors to people who help put them in power. Like, this is not a system that's helping us, which is why we created alternative systems like cryptocurrency and decentralized systems, which aren't controlled by anyone. That is the glory of those uncontrollable systems. But let's change track here. Ben, what's going on in the markets right now?
Yeah, I was going to say, what is clear? Numbers and analytics. And according to a recent blockchain analysis that pinpointed shifting tides seemingly in the trading patterns moving from Asia to North America and Europe. So this is according to blockchain data firm Kaiko that found that on Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken, the ratio between the volume of weekend and weekly BTC and USD trading doubled from March 2020. So I think this is really interesting. It shows like who and what retail investors, even what institutional investors maybe are like driving trading in the markets. And it's seemingly like with China cracking down on crypto in a variety of ways, most particularly with mining and other firms, we're starting to see a lot more trading happen in the EU, for example, and North America. But let's see. Jen, you are not in the U.S. Give us the international take here.
I am not in the U.S. Well, I don't know if I have I don't know if I have an international take, but when I was reading this article, I was very curious to see how this data is going to play out over the next year. So we see the numbers migrating from China to the US, but as the regulators in the US start to crack down, and we've seen that they are doing that more so, and there's no clarity. I was going to say there's more unclarity, but there's no clarity. I wonder where we're going to see this shift next. Is the shift going to Europe? I don't know. I don't know. Naomi, do you have a take on that? Like, do you think we're going to see this kind of just go around the map until we can get some kind of stronghold on what's going on?
I'm just confused by what they mean when they say that the volume has shifted to North America. Does that mean that the volume just decreased in China and North America stayed the same? Or does that mean that a bunch of Chinese people are now using VPNs that show they're in North America? Because like, how does trading volume just shift like that? It's not like North Americans suddenly went like, okay, China's not trading anymore. We'd better pick up the slack. Like, that's not really how it works. I'm just confused as to how they're phrasing this. Ben,
yeah, I mean, I think they're looking at data based on sort of US-based exchanges like Coinbase, like others, and I think that's maybe what they're pointing to here. I am not a markets watcher person for the most part, not my specialty. So I'm just interested overall in who's trading more generally, and I think that does have an impact because they were comparably looking at largely Asia-based exchanges in terms of the volume and things like that. They're also looking at trading times, which is another proxy for some of this.
Yeah, so on that point, I would say that it does show that, what this data, if that shift does just move to North American exchanges rather than Chinese exchanges, it shows that when you do just shut down something, you get 12 others that pop up, right? This is something that isn't able to be shut down just because a jurisdiction says you can no longer do this within our purview, within the area that we control. So it does show, like, as long as we have options all over the world, the trading volume just moves to wherever people have access to this stuff, regardless of what governments are saying, which is kind of interesting to me. But Will, I'll throw to you.
Yeah, I think the data shows a few other things as well. China and other countries in Asia have kind of taken, well, mostly just China, have taken the approach of just banning crypto exchange. And the US has kind of taken an approach where they just enforce KYC on everybody. And so you kind of have those two changes showing where, hey, in the US, at least I can trade these certain crypto assets. I just have to give some of my information over. And then China, it's like, oh, I can't trade it at all. You've especially seen that in recent headlines with Huobi having to move entirely out of China. They set up a US entity recently. Binance obviously has been having a really hard last 6 months. Even if their exchange volumes are up tremendously, they're kind of being chased by everyone all across the globe, and they're trying to kind of figure out where to set up an actual headquarters and start complying with regulators around the world. Coinbase, Kraken, these other players, they're smaller than your Binances of the world, even though they are quite large. Even though Coinbase is public, they have smaller volumes. Why? Because they went KYC route and they're curated to the U.S. market. So it's not necessarily super surprising to see this. If you ban trading in one country, you're going to see lower trading volumes there. I think that data also kind of shows that there's a lot more interest in trading in the U.S. recently, just I mean, that's just all across the board. Everyone in the US is talking about investments right now with this bull rise. So that makes sense all around, I guess.
Yeah, and I think too, like looking at like FTX, and we talked about like the marketing and the branding, right, and how they're trying to appeal to audiences here. And so I think that, that could also speak to this, because what the data was also showing is that, there's institutional investment, sure, and interest there, but there's also a rise in retail traders. So the people that are going and, kind of mom and pop investors, maybe, let's say, rather than just the PNCs of the world, for example.
PNC. I used to bank with PNC. I'm not going to lie. I am very surprised that they are getting involved with crypto, because I could not do anything on their website with like
the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Those were the days.
It was not fantastic. Yeah, throwback. But let's move over to some soccer, some football action, and some sports desk talk. So Messi, everyone knows who he is, right? Naomi, you know who he is?
Yeah, that guy. He's got that
even
right?
Even Naomi knows who Messi
even
is.
Naomi knows who he is.
Sure, I do.
So he recently just moved sports teams, moved clubs. He is no longer with Barcelona, and he is now with a French team, which I'm not going to lie, I don't know who they are. But he's issuing an NFT for the occasion, an NFT of himself with a really... like an NFT team or NFT firm I haven't heard of called Boss Logic. Apparently they've worked with both Disney and Marvel and some others. And the NFT, this is how Messi put it in a statement. Art, like football, is eternal. Art is also evolving, and digital art NFT is another way to connect with the fans. So he's launching his NFT. We've seen that with a lot of other sports players. I think Tom Brady launched his own NFT platform. I think Peyton Manning was launching his own NFT project as well. So it's not uncommon to see this, and it's happening right when he is moving teams entirely. I'll say goodbye to Ben for today. But I want to throw this over to you, Zach. Any hot takes on NFTs? I'm surprised that they're like back. It's another bull market for them. That's also notable.
Well, stop being surprised that they're back, okay? We talk about this every day.
Two hot takes on the sports desk. Hot take: every league will have its own NFT play by the end of 2022. It's really ramping up, but this is becoming a very table stakes thing for a lot of sporting leagues, right? You got to have a way to engage with fans, and it seems like NFTs are the flavor of the moment in terms of doing that. So that's my hot take. Every sports league will have its own NFT play. My second hot take about NFTs is that these celebrity ones are duds, and all the community ones are thriving. So, like be it CryptoPunks or I don't know, like Junkyard Dogs or like whatever avatar project NFT that is coming out, those things are doing gangbusters. I don't know. I'd have to check into the data, but my feeling is that a lot of these sort of celebrity driven ones aren't doing so hot. That's not stopping them from coming out. And I think, we're seeing Tom Brady partner with DraftKings, and the Tom Brady drop happens today. So, it's moving quickly. But it seems as though some of these more community-driven ones are finding a bit more traction here in this like resurgent NFT moment. But hey, maybe Lionel Messi will be able to turn the tide back toward the celebs and the athletes. But we will see. Hey Ben, welcome back. How you doing?
Oh no, he's not actually.
Oh, fake.
This is like
dang.
looks like a mugshot.
He's
an
smiling
NFT
now.
He's
a
smiling now. We
movable
got him.
NFT. All right. Well,
I'm coming in and out.
Does
Unlike
anyone know
NFTs, I am not here forever, apparently.
Right, exactly. We think that he's a staple, and then it just disappears and was never on a decentralized system.
What
and
server is
that
it
NFT
on?
of Ben is gone. Exactly.
Is anyone familiar with Ethernity? Because that is the platform this is being launched on.
Yeah, I've heard of it before.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a sports bent. I think they did like a Muhammad Ali one. That sort of reminds
Cool.
me of it.
ESPN reported that.
Yeah. Cool.
Interesting.
So
interesting
they're
reporting on this too.
It's funny how ESPN is standing up, its little NFT exclusives desk. They had like Pete Alonso, home run guy. So little cottage industry for ESPN as well.
I mean, we're talking about it as a little cottage industry for ESPN, but at the same time, they're just saying whatever that is, a blockchain. Like
that was the best part of the article. NFT is whatever that is.
Which is interesting that they're just like not walking out with what it is.
You don't need to know how the car engine works. You just want the car to take you from point A to point B. Same with sports NFTs from fancy celebrity athletes. So yeah, I don't know.
I feel like merchandise, you need to know what it is. Like you buy a sweatshirt and you're like, I know what this does. You buy an NFT, it's like, I'd like you to explain it. Maybe I'd like it. Like, I don't know. I think the clarity is kind of important there.
I want Will's hot take. Will, what's your hot take?
Well, it's not really a great hot take, but my one thought on this is that there's a lot of like the NFT space is super fractured, right? And the ones that are doing well are built on Ethereum because everyone knows how that works. They're like all on OpenSea or something similar to that. And so people have like an OpenSea account. And so that's why you see like these JPEG ones doing really well. And I'm wondering what is going to be like the dominant trading platform for these sports card ones. And then I think we'll kind of see like a resurgence, or we'll see like those do better. But they all seem like Ethernity does not seem to be connected to NBA Top Shots, for example. So that kind of like, it's hard to trade across decks and across cards. So I'm waiting for that to happen. Not a hot take, just a comment.
Tepid take to close out the show. You gotta love it. Good stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Control with the hype.
NFT advisor.
NFT advisor Will Foxley. Thanks so much. Can't wait for the latest drop from your neck of the woods. All right, appreciate it. That was the show for today. We're wrapping up. This is the wrap up section. I'm Zack. That's Naomi. Wait, that's Naomi. Ben's over there somewhere, and Jen's down there, and Will's down there, and everybody's doing a dance, and it's going to be fun. We'll be back for the Thursday show tomorrow. This is CoinDesk TV. All About Bitcoin is on CoinDesk TV at 3 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. Till then, you should just go read CoinDesk.com. A lot of great content over there. We better get back to it, Ben. Let's hop back in the content mines and close out the day strong. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Happy hump day. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Adam.
Happy Wednesday.
Bye, Adam Sandler in the house.
Bye, Adam.